Hello and welcome. How secure are deals between the Western allied military and tribal leaders in Afghanistan? And are they the key to lasting peace in the region? Helmand province is the latest front for negotiation with some positive results, but critics are aware of how similar deals in the past have fallen apart. The most recent ceasefire focuses on the strategic area of Sangin, where US and NATO forces have dominated in the Taliban heartland, in addition to neighboring Kandahar. The top US commander in the Afghan province says the key Pashtun tribe of Al-Qozai has agreed to stop its attacks on coalition forces and has pledged to expel foreign fighters supporting the Taliban. The Americans are hailing the pact as a move in the right direction just 1 year after their battle for Marja, but there are already reports of Taliban intimidating members of the tribe and even capturing an influential local leader. So on today's show we ask, what realistic approach can US-led forces take when reaching out to local leaders, and what are the obstacles in securing long-term peace? Remember, you can join our conversation with your questions and comments. Just send us an SMS or an email. Joining me is the top US Marine Commander in Afghanistan's Helmand province, Major General Richard Mills, who's responsible for coalition forces in what is considered to be the most dangerous front in the conflict. Here in the studio is Matthew Ho, Director of the Afghanistan Study Group and a former Marine who served in Iraq. Mr. Ho also worked for the State Department in Afghanistan before resigning over US policy there. Gentlemen, I welcome you to the show, and Major General Richard Mills, I start with you, sir, and ask, what are the precise details of the Sangin deal, and what really makes it different from past pacts that have been made with tribal leaders?
Well, the security arrangement that's been made on the ground right now in the Sangin area, the upper area of Sangin in the river valley, is similar, in fact, to the security arrangements made throughout the province with local tribal elders. And that is that the government of Jaroa will provide a safe and secure environment within their areas, and will provide them with developmental projects, and will provide them with access to the government of Jaroa, both at the provincial and national level, in return for what we expect is to be a reduction in violence, and certainly a reduction in any attacks against Afghan or coalition security forces. So the arrangement up there is very, very similar to arrangements throughout the province.
Well, sir, I wonder why these tribal leaders in particular have been keen to negotiate now, and also I wonder how widespread the influence of the Al-Qozai tribe is. I gather it's a fairly limited area of Sangin that they really have any real influence in.
Well, the tribe lives in a very, very important part of the northern province. They live along Route 611, which is a main north and south avenue for commerce and for development that goes from the Kejaki Dam all the way down to Route 1, where it comes through the province. So the area they have, although relatively small, is very, very important. I believe that conditions on the ground now are different than they ever have been within the province. I believe the tribal elders now can look to the other places within the province where there's been very, very successful security established on the ground, where we have seen schools opened, where we have seen government of Jaroa influence expand, where we have seen roads built, economic opportunity expand, health care provided to the people of those areas. So I believe that the elders to the north, an area that we have neglected so far in the campaign, can look to our south, to the center of our province, see some very, very attractive things. And I think that they understand now what the benefits are of siding with the government of Jaroa, and they have made a decision to do what's in the best interest of the tribal members, which is to cooperate.
Well, of course, so we've seen the situation in Afghanistan go up and down. And I wonder, based on past experience, what fears or concerns you might have that the current deal, the current pact, might not be long-lasting, and you know, again, ruling out the prospect that this might just be a short-term strategy on the part of the tribal leaders for personal gain.
Well, again, I believe the conditions on the ground throughout Helmand province, and that's what I speak about, Helmand province, have changed significantly over the past few months, to where there are important security gains made in numerous areas. Certainly, the town of Marja is a great example. An area that was heavily contested this summer is now an area in which schools have opened, bazaars flourish, job availability is much better than it was, roads are being built, canals dredged. It is a very, very success story, if you will, for the government of Jaroa, for the Afghan security forces, and for the coalition forces. So I truly believe that the elders to the north and now are looking to the south of the province, seeing success, seeing what the possibilities are, and they really truly want to do what's best for their people, and that their best is to ensure there's a safe, secure environment in which the development and education and health care can take place. The threat to it is the retaliation of the insurgents who react significantly to those kind of benefits. They don't want to see that kind of advancement take place on the ground. They don't want to see those benefits arrive to the Afghan people and to the tribes within Helmand Province. Their retaliation is in threats and is intimidation and is murder in the night. It is literally all he can offer anymore to the people of Helmand Province, and it's the only way that he has to react. He certainly can't offer them more development. He certainly can't offer them more security. He certainly can't offer them schools. He destroys schools. So he has nothing really left to do but to threaten and intimidate. But the raise in the caliber, capability, and size of the local Afghan security forces, the police, I think will mitigate that threat significantly as compared to years past.
So there was a time not long ago when the Taliban were being considered as partners in peace for any long-term solution for Afghanistan. President Karzai has mentioned it, and it was mentioned also in the US context too, that without the Taliban there could be no long-term peace deal. And I wonder, looking at the situation, the pacts you have made in the region with tribal leaders, does that counter any approach or counter any prospect of bringing the Taliban into any kind of long-term peace deal?
Well, we have, in conjunction with the provincial governor, a very, very vigorous reintegration program here within the province, in which we welcome back low-level insurgents who choose to put down their arms and to come over to the Jaroa side. It is a program that's attractive. It offers job opportunity. It offers the ability for them to live in peace back in their old communities. That is something controlled by the government of Afghanistan. It is run through the provincial government and the district government, and again, it allows the insurgents who wish to cross over and to become, again, peaceful, contributing members of their own communities.
Well, I want to bring in Matthew Ho here, and Matt, good to have you back on the show as well. And I ask you, you've been an outspoken critic of much of the strategy in Afghanistan and Iraq to some degree when it comes to, especially, the troop strategy. I wonder how you regard the effort to strike deals, in this case, for example, with these tribal leaders.
It's the right step. It's the right way to go, as long as a series of ifs are made. In particular, does this deal just strengthen one tribe over another? In this particular case, the tribe that the deal was struck with has tended to be pro-government, anti-Taliban. Has this really changed the dynamics? Have we done anything to bring other tribes or clans or villages that were supportive of the Taliban over to our side? A lot of us go back to what we did in Anbar province in Iraq, where we struck deals with the tribes in Anbar to separate them from al-Qaeda. That's what we should be doing here in Afghanistan. Last year, when we went into Marja, myself and many others flat out said this is not going to work. We didn't want to give it any time. In this case, I think we have to give this time and see if it will work. This is the right step to talk, to have negotiations, to have deals. The Taliban, particularly the Taliban in Helmand, have nothing to do with al-Qaeda. This is an internal conflict in Afghanistan that goes back decades, and it should be the United States' role to broker a settlement to achieve political stability as opposed to escalate the violence as we've done over the last few years there.
Now, of course, one of the things is that the Taliban here are being talked about as totally separate from the people, the tribal leaders and the people. But in theory, it's still all part of a similar group. So the Taliban are drawn from many of the people in those regions.
Absolutely. We had a saying, one of the tenets of counterinsurgency is you separate the insurgent from the population, but it's very difficult to do that when the population is the insurgency. So this idea of talking, this again negotiation of empowering Marine officers and hopefully their civilian counterparts as well to negotiate and try and integrate the local Afghan leadership in Helmand into the Afghan government, try and integrate them into the Afghan security forces, because up until now they've seen the Afghan government as being outsiders, of being intrusive and not inclusive. And so steps like this are the right way to go. And hopefully what General Mills is saying will continue to carry forth, and hopefully this is a step that will be replicated throughout the rest of the country, as opposed to trying to beat the Taliban militarily, to just talk with them and negotiate and get some type of a brokered deal.
Well, Major General Richard Mills, if I could ask you one more question before we let you go, sir, and that is really, how comfortable do you feel that the right foundations are being laid, considering the steps now taken to allow Afghanistan to begin that process of managing itself, to allow the Allied forces to be able to take a step back and eventually meet those deadlines for withdrawal?
I think the foundations have been laid. I think that in my 10 months that I've been here, I've seen the rise of a very capable Afghan army force here within Helmand Province. The corps that we have here is well manned, it is well led, it is getting better trained every day, and it is getting better equipped every day, and in fact is capable of semi-autonomous operations. And it does go out on its own with some enablers provided by us and engages the enemy, and it works with the civilian population to do its own method of coin operations. Perhaps more importantly, I think at the local level, is the rise in police capabilities. Again, I would point to Marja in June, where there was no police force. In fact, the police it was preferred that the police not be raised in Marja. We now have a very effective police force in Marja of over 300 officers who go out and do their daily protect and serve, just as police do all over the world, who are in precinct houses scattered throughout the city, and in fact have allowed us to thin out in many areas of Marja and move our troops to other places where they might be needed. So I think the foundation has been laid for the Afghan government to provide its own security, still with some help, but the foundation is there. And I think that when in dealing with the insurgency, the local Afghan government, and let me stress that the Sangin arrangement is a Giroa-led effect. It is Governor Mengal who is leading this. We are in a supporting role with him, and we are certainly by his side, but it is led by the provincial governor. And I think that now the governor can deal from a position of strength, and that he has the success behind him. He has areas he can point to that indicate that things are going very well, and he has a very, very good police force and a good army standing at his side. So I think he's well positioned to be able to do what's best for the people of this province.
Major General Richard Mills, I thank you, sir, for joining us there from Kabul.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Joining the conversation now from Kabul is Abdul Salam Zaif, who's a native of Kandahar, who served as Taliban's former ambassador to Pakistan prior to the US invasion. As the organization's emissary, he consulted frequently with the Taliban leadership. Ambassador, you heard what Major General Richard Mills had to say. I want to get your perspective on that, on the success or the potential success of the negotiations in Sangin, and where it leaves the Taliban now, sir.
Thank you. I think the ceasefire the General mentioned in the area of Saramkala, it is the part of the Sangin district. It's some kind of a big village. It's not district, but a big village. And I think that there is some tribe living there. The majority is Al-Khuzai tribe. And I think the majority of this tribe before, they were with the American, with the government. I think one commander, famous commander, was killed 2 years ago by the name of Dado, Commandant Dado. He was killed. He was with American too. I think this is some kind of ceasefire. It is better for the people to be comfortable for some time, because this is a very big problem in Kandahar, Helmand, in other area. The majority of the people, they are not sleeping during the night time because of the mid-raid every day on the people, right. And from the scare of American operation in the area. I think this is some kind of thing, but I don't think this will be resolve the problem in the area, because the small village in the middle of the province of Helmand will be not secure forever. It's not guaranteed that the area will be secure, which the general mentioned that they should build the school and road and other facility to provide for the people. Right. Yes, they are providing for anywhere, and they want to do that for the people. But I think there is some kind of problem ideologically with the Taliban. And the Taliban, they are strong in the Helmand area. And this kind of ceasefire was happened before in the Msakala district. But this was for some time after that.
Well,
it was broken between Taliban and the
I wonder, sir, where this leaves the Taliban and the prospect of negotiating with the Taliban, with trying to get them to be, to cooperate at least with the idea of long-term peace. This sounds like it will encourage the Taliban to be more active, to step up their campaign.
I think the issue of Taliban is different from this tribe. Really, the long-term the strategy for the peace to come to Afghanistan, it is other strategy. Still, this is the local arrangement with the tribe elders in the area, and I don't think the Taliban should respect to this arrangement in the area, because this will be not resolving the problem. And the Taliban always, they are trying to prolong the problem and to spread that to the other area, because in one area to be pacific by the Taliban, it will be damage for them, and they should not be patient in one area to be bombed or to be killed or to be the nitrate. I don't think, that's, I think the Americans, they need to do something for long-term solution to resolve the problem in Afghanistan.
Okay.
And I think that with the local people, they have no problem. That's not mean the tribe leader, when they are signing something with them, it is fighting with the nation.
Right.
I think this is not completely fighting with the nation. It is,
I want to bring in Matthew Ho here again and say, Matt, one of the key things Ambassador Zaif is saying, and listening to what Major General Richard Mills said, the contrast is that this doesn't look like it could be a long-term and secure situation, and that really this leaves the idea of the success is, again, maybe a transient one. How do you regard it when the US says, we're having success in the region, we're achieving our goals in Afghanistan then?
We've heard this for a number of years. We keep hearing anecdotes. The reality is, you look at the trends, you look at the data, you look at the metrics. The situation of Afghanistan has gotten worse every year since 2005, when NATO decided to expand outside of Kabul and expand the presence of the central government. Major General Mills referenced the schools in Helmand. Well, just last week, the governor of Helmand said only 80% of schools are closed in Helmand because security is so bad. He referenced the success in Marja. Well, 2nd Battalion, 9th Marines is one of the units stationed there. They've had several Marines killed the past few weeks and many wounded. So you continually hear these things on a whole level, on a national level. Attacks in Afghanistan are up twice the level they were up last year at this time, which was twice the level they were up the year previously. So this idea that we're achieving success is just not being borne out by any facts, by any data, by any trends, by the reality.
And what Ambassador Zaif was referring to there was the idea that perhaps these kind of pacts in Sangin could not be repeated throughout the country for a long-term national level of peace.
What you have to do when you do these pacts is you have to make sure you can get the short-term success. You can get that short-term ceasefire, and you can get that drop in casualties maybe for just that one particular area, so for that one village, as Ambassador Zaif was saying. However, what do you do to sustain that? How do you keep this going a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? And so that's the concern. Is this built into the Afghan government? Are these tribal elders, are these local elders, these village elders, how are they going to be linked into the governing process? How are they going to be linked into the district council? How are they going to have a say into what the Afghan government does in their villages and in their valleys and in their areas? And similarly, the security forces. We know that only about 3 to 5% of the Afghan army is composed of Southern Pashtuns. What are we doing to bring Southern Pashtuns into the security forces and keep them in the security forces so that 5 years, 10 years from now, security forces in those areas are composed of people from those areas?
So, I mean, ultimately, it's been an up and down situation in Afghanistan. When you look at where things are going, I know you've been critical for what's been going on. Is it taking the right direction then?
Well, talking is the best step, but I also go back to what I've been saying now for 18 months or however long. And people have been saying this well before I said it as well too, that the foreign presence is driving insurgency, is pushing people to support the insurgency, that the best thing we can do in many cases is pull foreign troops out of valleys and villages where the locals are fighting them and supporting the Taliban for no reason other than they're being occupied.
Right.
So I still say that that's the best solution. And from an American perspective as well, a lot of these fights are these inter-tribal, inter-village, inter-familial fights that have nothing to do with American or Western national security interests, but now we find American or Western troops caught in the middle of a conflict that predates their arrival there and that they can't possibly begin to understand or unravel, and it doesn't concern them. So again, my thing is start pulling American forces, Western forces out there, not completely, but just you know,
take
enough
the fuel
to,
from the fire.
Exactly.
Basically. Yeah,
exactly.
so
Yeah.
it should die down. Let me ask you though, with your travels around the U.S., how much tolerance is there among the American public now for a continued campaign?
When I speak to congressional leaders or I speak to other leaders in the country about what is the best thing they can do to get the U.S. to withdraw from Afghanistan or begin the process or change the political climate so that the president feels that he can choose an alternative to what the Pentagon is suggesting, I say fix the economy. We find that over 60%, and actually it skyrockets when people learn that the United States will spend $119 billion in FY 2011 in Afghanistan. The opposition to the war is great, near its 2/3, and again, with cost factored in, it skyrockets over that. But the problem is that people are distracted by the economy. Everyone's got a few homes in foreclosure on their street. Their cousin hasn't been able to get a job in a year. It's very different than 2006, when the economy was doing well, when your house was worth twice what you paid for it, you know, et cetera. So if we can somehow change the dynamic to get people to act upon their preference for us not being Afghanistan, I think that would give the president that political space he needs to do something different in Afghanistan and not follow the requests of the Pentagon and others who are pro-war policy.
And Ambassador Zaif, to get your perspective on that, the way Afghanistan can move forward in governing itself, how ready do you think the people of Afghanistan are ready to look after the country without it falling apart and going into civil war or being overrun by the Taliban?
Yeah, no, really there is a lot of distance to combine something or to bring the people to the government to decrease this distance. I think the problem is not between government and the people. It's not a problem between the government and the Taliban or the tribe leader. Problem is, I think, the activities of America and the presence of them and their operation in Afghanistan. This is the real problem. They should not, Americans should not condemn the people of Afghanistan for something, why the people they are not joining with the government, why they are not, the Pashtun, they are not participating in the military or the national police or national army. I think they are, until, I think until the American, they are continuing their activities in Afghanistan, in operation in Afghanistan. It's not bringing the people by force to join with the government. It's increasing, I think, the distance and increasing the hatiness between the people and the government. It's increasing the distance between Taliban and the government. I think this is the real problem. It's not the problem, the tribe leader. I think that they should think about this problem, how to resolve the problem. I think this will be the main question. It's not some kind of thing that they should blame someone or the Pashtun, they are not with the government, how they should bring. I think by this kind of activities, the Pashtuns especially, they are absent from the area. The army, which is the army of Afghanistan, they are called nationally. By my opinion, it's not national army. It's not national police, because the majority of the country, they are absent and they are not feeling that's country and that government is my government. I know that Mr. Mangal or other always they are talking about the progress, about the successful, but really this is not.
Okay.
When I'm looking to the area in the situation, I know that it's a big difference between the situation and they're talking and I think that they said we have a progress, but always for since 10 years when we are looking, hearing there is progress, there will be resolved the problem. and next year it is better. But we are looking the situation became worse day by day. I think it is necessary to be fundamental strategy for to resolve the problem.
Okay, well, Ambassador Abdul Salam Zaif, I thank you very much, sir, for joining us again on the show. Matthew Ho, thanks again to you for your contribution as well. And of course, Major General Richard Mills, who joined us at the top. Thank you for being with us. Remember, you can catch a podcast of the show on iTunes. This week, we're featuring my conversation with comedian, actor, and star of The Daily Show, Asif Manvi. On the next show, a new Cold War over currency. Well, China's President Hu Jintao is coming to Washington, where struggles over monetary policy is just one of the many topics he faces. We'll examine the key issues in Sino-American relations and look at their global impact. Be sure to tune in for that. From me and the team, we'll see you next time.